Forgotten characters. We all know about them. Well, I mean, we don't actually know about them since they've been forgotten, but like in general, we kind of know that the idea of them exists, I guess. Every major game franchise has them, and my favorite game of all time is no different. Oh. I was talking about Kirby's Epic Yarn, but I guess we can talk about Mario Kart instead. Recently, I've been diving very deep into all of the Mario Kart lore to make very stupid videos, but this time, I might have struck gold by uncovering the most tragic story of this forgotten character. He appeared in the first Mario Kart ever, seeming like he would be another staple of the franchise, then vanished off the face of the earth. What did he do to make Nintendo executives so mad that we haven't seen him since? And an even better question, will we ever see him again? Don't worry, my sweet child. I will answer all of these questions for you right now. Welcome to the deep dive into Mario Kart's forgotten character, Donkey Kong Jr. I would like to begin this video by discussing Donkey Kong Jr.'s rise and backstory, eventually leading us into the first Mario Kart. In the fall of 1982, a sequel to the iconic arcade game Donkey Kong was released, with its title being named Donkey Kong Jr. This is one of the few games in existence that Mario is actually the antagonist, as the player controls DK Jr., who is the hero of this game. Jr. is attempting to free his father from Mario, who is getting revenge on Donkey Kong for stealing the unnamed woman in the previous installment. Mario seems to be doing a little too much for the Huz and needs to get put back in his place, so throughout this riveting and beautiful gameplay, you collect keys to clear levels while Mario continues to take your father away from you. I don't know why Mario wanted to orphan this poor monkey child so badly, but never meet your heroes, I guess. This game wasn't a huge success in the arcade scene, but it did do well enough to warrant a sequel named Donkey Kong 3. Here's a quick sidebar where the lore gets a little weird, so take a seat and try to follow along. Although his name is Donkey Kong Jr., he is actually the father of the Donkey Kong we all know today. Stay with me now. This is because the Donkey Kong we are trying to save in the DK Jr. arcade game is Cranky Kong, Donkey Kong's grandfather. So if we actually go down the family lineage, it goes Cranky Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., and then Donkey Kong III, who is the most famous of the three. Now, I know that is completely useless information and it has nothing to do with the disappearance of DK Jr., but I thought it was a pretty fun fact that you all deserve to know as well. Also brings up the theory that maybe DK Jr. went to go get some milk from the store and just never came back, and that explains his disappearance. Moving along in this tragic story, we will reach the peak of Donkey Kong Jr.'s career at Nintendo with the release of Super Mario Kart. After a few more arcade game appearances over the next decade, Nintendo released their first edition of the groundbreaking Mario Kart franchise on the SNES in 1992. DK Jr. was one of just 8 playable characters featured in this game and was paired up with Bowser inside the heavyweight division. This means that for whatever reason, in the minds of the developers at Nintendo, Donkey Kong Jr. was a better option than the well-known characters such as Wario, Waluigi, Daisy, and oh yeah, Donkey Kong. Now, I will never know what influenced them to make this decision, but still, I feel as if it's safe to assume they believed that DK Jr. would be a big player in the Mario world for years to come, just like how each of the other racers in this game are staples of the franchise today. But of course, that is not how this story plays out. 4 years later, Mario Kart 64 was released on the N64, once again with 8 playable characters, but only 6 were returning from the franchise's first installment. Koopa Troopa and Donkey Kong Jr. were replaced by Wario and Donkey Kong. This fact will lead me to address a popular theory that I've seen from many Redditors while researching this video. DK Jr. is not Donkey Kong's dad, but actually just a younger version of the Donkey Kong we see in today's games. While this theory does have some promise and could be seen as canon in the Mario movie, where Cranky Kong refers to Donkey Kong as his son, there's too much evidence in the Donkey Kong Country games that there is a separator in the family tree between Cranky and Donkey Kong. In addition to this, there are much more convincing theories that I'm about to get to as well, so I will stick to the game lore until Nintendo proves me otherwise. 7 years later, and 2 installments deeper into the franchise, Nintendo released Mario Kart Double Dash, and without knowing it, this game would be the final nail in the coffin for poor Donkey Kong Jr. Nintendo is lucky that I wasn't born yet, or else they would have to deal with my extreme wrath in the form of angry complaint letters. This game contained the most extensive roster to date, with 20 playable characters. 11 of these characters were brand new to the franchise, and 9 of the original 10 were returning, leaving one odd monkey out. I'm no social guru, but even I can figure it out that if I were invited to a party with a bunch of friends one week, and then the next week I see that there was another party including everyone who was there last time except for me, I would catch the vibe that I did something wrong and was no longer wanted. Not that that's ever happened to me, of course. This does seem like an odd thing for Nintendo to do, however, without any reason at all. as even though I wasn't around, I can't seem to find any articles talking about petitions to remove DK Jr. from the Mario Kart franchise. So what reason did Nintendo think was justifiable to leave him off this roster? Answer to this question is that Donkey Kong Jr. wasn't removed from the Mario Kart world, but rather replaced. I have 2 words for you: Diddy Kong. Ah yes, Diddy Kong, a name that Nintendo is probably heavily regretting giving to Donkey Kong's lovable little nephew, but nonetheless, he is the sole reason that Donkey Kong Jr. was scrapped from the Mario Kart universe. First introduced in the Donkey Kong Country series in 1994, Diddy Kong became Donkey Kong's sidekick after Nintendo ordered Donkey Kong's original owner, a company called Rare, not to remodel Donkey Kong Jr. like they wanted to, but make a new character altogether if they were going to change things up. So Rare added a lot of diversity to Diddy Kong's model by having a smaller, more slender look to him. He was featured in every Donkey Kong Country game leading up to Mario Kart Double Dash and was slowly starting to phase out poor DK Jr. So Nintendo had a big decision to make right before the game's release. Although it seemed like the developers were already set on giving up on DK Jr., the decision was definitely a lot more difficult for them than it first appears. You might be wondering, how do you know this? And the answer is because he was literally made in the game. Donkey Kong Jr. was planned to be a playable character in this version of Mario Kart, allowing him to coexist with the rising Diddy Kong. And the evidence for this can be revealed in the background of races where you can see his sprite cheering on other racers. However, Nintendo decided to make their final decision and officially shut the door on DK Jr. by scrapping him for Diddy Kong, leaving him goodbye for good. That was over 20 years ago, and since that decision, Donkey Kong Jr. has only ever been seen in cameos in small spin-off games such as WarioWare. He has yet to be seen as a playable character in any mainline Mario game, while Diddy Kong has been seen repeatedly and is also known as a staple of the mainline franchise. What did DK Jr. do to deserve this treatment? He did everything Nintendo asked him to do, but in the end, I believe his similarity to Donkey Kong left the developers wanting a character with more versatility, leaving Jr. to sit and think to himself for years why he wasn't good enough to stick around. That's where this tragic story ends. But I still believe the door hasn't fully closed on DK Jr. This isn't just blind hope either, as I may have said a teensy-weensy little lie a few moments ago. Donkey Kong Jr. has actually been an unlockable playable character in one Mario Kart game since his disappearance. It's the most recent addition of the game, Mario Kart Tour, but most people do not know about that because the game absolutely sucks and nobody plays it. And although this is a glimmer of hope for DK Jr., I'll be honest and say that the fact that his tour character is just a replica of the 16-bit version of himself from Super Mario Kart, and that there's 265 playable characters in this game, it does seem relatively insignificant. But and this is a big but, it does mean that Nintendo hasn't entirely forgotten about this character like much of the world thought they had, and now would be the perfect time to bring him back officially. The next Mario Kart has been announced, and it has a huge twist: 24-player racing. Considering that Nintendo is doubling the racers in each race, it isn't entirely out of the picture to assume that they might be doubling the roster of racers as well, which could lead to over 100 total playable characters. I know that a lot of people have been hoping that the roster will look a little more like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate with a bunch of characters from different Nintendo IPs, but wouldn't it make sense to use up every character in the Mario franchise first? Especially characters that have already been used in Mario Karts before? This is why I firmly believe that this new edition of Mario Kart will be the last chance for DK Jr., as he will either be brought back to life with his playable character, confirmed as a younger version of Donkey Kong by being a variant of him, which I also think will be highly possible, or fade into oblivion forever by not being featured at all. It is impossible to think of a scenario where Nintendo will opt to use him again if he isn't used in this game that needs a massive roster. But if he is featured, you can guarantee he will be my main, no matter how ass he is. That's gonna do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below, as it lets me know that you would like to see more content like this. If I mess something up, please yell at me in the comments below, as I love the engagement. With that said, I hope you have a great day, and maybe check out another one of my videos. Possibly, perchance. Okay, bye.